Hey everybody, I'm Greg Sowell, and this is Why Am I, a podcast where I talk to interesting people and try and trace a path to where they find themselves today. My guest this go around is Craig Coombes. I'm going to rip the bandaid off, right? Just get this out of the way. Craig has terminal cancer, right? Every day is a struggle for this guy in ways most of us will never understand. But rather than sit on his ass and do nothing, he prefers to expose it every week in his Naked Tuesday series as a big FU to his disease, which I freaking love. This guy has had a rough run of life with his parents both dying slowly to illness far too young, but he calls this the truest love story. I freaking swear nothing could stop this guy, right? And I'm glad it hasn't, because I'm forever changed by him, like with this single conversation. This dude had me laughing almost the entire time, which is good because otherwise I would have cried. And, maybe once I got off the mic, I did. Who's to say? At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this chat with Craig. Craig, thank you for joining me on the Why Am I podcast.
Thank you for having me on the Why Am I podcast. Much appreciated.
Absolutely, man. All right, Craig. So you are a referral. I always enjoy referrals. I feel like it's like watching First Dates on Channel 4. You never quite know what's... No. I usually have a pretty terrific experience. And you came from somebody who is super awesome, Catherine King. So I'm no pressure.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to let her down. Her reputation's riding on this, Craig. So
He's one of the best humans on the planet. So I better be careful.
No. I'm going to start this the way I start a lot of conversations in person, which is really weird because it's one of my very favorite things to ask people is, so Craig, who are you? Tell me a little about yourself.
I'm a medically retired old man, as you can see. I suppose if I did have to say, who am I? I think I'm a mishmash of a lot of things at the moment.
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as a budding magician, self-taught, a grandfather who is teaching one of my grandchildren magician and comedy and all that sort of stuff. I'm a comedy lover, I'm a music lover, and I'm a theatre lover. And I love my friends and my family. And I think that encapsulates who I am the most.
That's a really good description. You said you were a comedy, music, and theater lover, right?
Yep.
Would you say in that order?
Oh, jeez. Okay. See, that's hard. Probably comedy first, I think, is my love.
Yeah.
And then I would say theatre, then music. But theatre and music is sort of, geez, that's hard.
Well, when you say theater, are you talking about just plays, or are we talking about musical theater?
Musical theatre, yeah.
Yeah.
And I look like the musical theatre type, I know.
Well, I mean, you can obviously tell that I'm the musical theater type too, right? I absolutely love musical theater.
So do I. I go to everything when I can.
Yeah. Well, you're in Melbourne, correct?
Yep, Theatre District is not too far away, about an hour drive, and it's just magnificent what we've got on at the moment. So everything's on. It's nice to go to the theatre. I'm looking forward to it next weekend.
Well, how did you get into musical theatre? Like, where did that come from?
Okay, this is sort of where everything come from.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, I stepped into it. I had a love for music as a kid. I done musicals at school.
Yeah.
And then when I sort of finished school, that was it. And I probably never went to a musical for, 40, 30 years. Sorry. I was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago. And a good mate basically said, well, it's going to get you. Let's create a bucket list. And not long before that, I'd been to the theatre for the first time in 30 odd years. And one of the actors in it, I thought she was fantastic. And it was Xanadu the musical, so it was a bit weird. And I thought she was great. I didn't know who she was. I thought she was beautiful, wonderful. And apart from big ticket items on my bucket list, when Pete called me the day after, because I basically hung up from him and said, I haven't got a bucket list. Why would I have one? I didn't think this thing is going to kill me. And because it is, I'm terminal. And the following day, he called me back. And I said, okay, right, I want to meet Andrew Johns, who is a rugby league legend and my sporting hero. I want to meet Adam Hills, who you may have heard of, comedian.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to meet Nickelback. I want to fly over the Antarctica, and I want an autograph picture of Christy Wheeler. I got everything off that list. My mate made everything happen. I met Andrew Johns. I'm friends now with Andrew Johns. I met Adam Hills. Caught up with Hillsy 2 weeks ago when he was here in Australia. We still keep in touch after all these years. I met Nickelback. That divides people, but Pete organised that for me. Not long after I was diagnosed, we held a birthday party and everybody chipped in and raised enough money to send me and my wife in a flight over the Antarctica. And then instead of getting an autograph photo of Christy Whelan, when Pete contacted her management or whatever he done, she said, I can do better than that. I'm in something funny happened on the way to the forum. Here's tickets, come along and I'll meet him at stage door after it. And she did. And then I made a promise, whatever musical she was in, I'd go and see. And then I just fell in love with all the musicals and found the joy of stage door, because they'd come out and say hello, and then she'd introduce me to different people. And then I've now got many, many friends in the musical theatre world, which just absolutely stuns me that, you know, so much good has come from so much evil. I call it evil because I think it is.
For sure.
And
for sure,
pretty much everything I've got or everything I love is because of that, and because of what my mate Peter B decided to do for me. I mean, you know, getting a flight over the Antarctica, it was the most wow moment when you see that first bit of ice. It's just like breathtaking. And Andrew Johns, you know, he's a legend from my hometown and sporting hero, and the 8th immortal in the game of rugby league. And 2 weeks ago, he's messaging saying, mate, I'm in Melbourne soon. How about we catch up? And Adam Hills, I've done a great show called Clown Heart with Adam. We filmed it with Catherine at the Apollo in London in 2016. And when Adam first raised the idea, he said, just hang on until we can film the DVD. I've hung on for 7 more years after that. So I can't complain. So, I mean, and that's where I found comedy as well, is through the fact that with Hillsy, and then I just started going to the comic scenes here in Melbourne literally every week, and just fell in love with comedy and started to meet those guys, and then Hillsy sort of challenged me to do a bit of comedy, and I've done some stand-up about having cancer and how to cope, and laughter is the best medicine. Although I'm pretty fond of oxycodone too.
Sometimes medicine's the best medicine. Yeah, you know,
I have an awful amount of stuff I'm on.
You know, it sounds like, I mean, understandably, you'd get emotional. Like there's certain subjects I still can't talk about, like that have happened 14, almost 15 years ago at this point. And as soon as I start trying to talk about them, I start choking up, and I can't quite get through it. But it sounds like, and I've only seen this a couple of times in people, but it sounds like there was kind of a BC and an AD Craig. Like, you know, there's the Craig probably before, and then the Craig after, and I'm assuming you can kind of draw a line and see how you are a different person, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me.
I actually saw it the other day, you know, about that.
Yeah. Tell me, what is Craig BC before cancer? What does he look like?
Yeah, I was a teacher, taught marketing and advertising and all that sort of stuff, and just loved teaching, and I was involved in our national code of football here, AFL, as a talent scout, and that's where most of my life, what I'd wanted to be, and I got there ahead of schedule, and I was pretty chuffed to be working in the main comp. A lot of my mates used to love that because it's not many work in the industry, and I used to love that. So a lot of my life was working my normal job, come home to my family, and then work at night on the footy stuff, and then work at football on the weekend. And I was just constantly working 7 days a week for probably 12 years. No, maybe more, 15 years. So I was putting a lot of time into work, just trying to do the best I could for my wife and 2 kids.
But it sounds like you were really happy though. Fulfilled, would you say?
Oh yeah, the AFL job when I got that, I was, I was pretty happy because it was something I didn't think would happen because I didn't play football at that highest level. But I worked pretty hard at coaching and other things and landed a job. And as I said, a lot of my mates were so happy because they could say, "Oh, a mate of mine works," and they wanted inside info and all that sort of stuff. And they were all at me for that. They liked to know. I even had a doctor I had to tell him everything that I knew about his football club and all the info that I got, which I used to. And he told me once, he said, he has a few golf buddies and he'd say, "Oh, I think this might happen." And when it did, they were like, "You are incredible." And I said, "You're taking all the credit for my work." He goes, "Yeah." And I do remember I had this nasty thing in 2006 called diverticular disease. And I was just about to fly overseas to China to do some teaching and had a bit of a sore tummy. And he said, "Fine, anyway, you've got diverticulitis and diverticular disease. You're going into hospital tomorrow. We're going to have to remove part of your bowel and you're in a bad way here." Oh, so anyway, on the operating table, as I'm just getting ready to go out, I had some info I wanted to tell him. My last words before I went into the anaesthetic were, "Chris Judd will be traded to Carlton." Anyway, I come out, obviously didn't die and all that. And one day, my wife was with me and we're talking to him, and I said, "Hey, Brian, did I say anything before, like my last words?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Your last words could have been, Chris Judd will be traded to Carlton." Not tell my family I love them and I thank them. It was football. And my wife just went, "Of course it's football. Of course it's football." That's just how it was. But and he did get traded to Carlton. I was right.
Hilarious.
I'm glad my deathbed's going to have something else, not that right now. So
that'll be inscription on your tombstone. I get it. Yeah. He loved football. Yeah.
Yeah. But probably he still does. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd say Craig was a workaholic back then?
Yep.
Yeah. Where did that come from? Like the feeling that you had to because I've been kind of a workaholic in my past. I'm sort of coming to grips with that. And I definitely know where mine came from. I'm just curious, where did your need to constantly be moving come from?
My dad, he constantly done everything for my mum when she became a full quadriplegic and was hospitalised. And he just worked and worked and worked and worked. And when he finished work, he'd go to the hospital and sit by her bedside until it was time to go home. Done that for 23 years.
Jeez. 23 years day. She was in the hospital.
Yep. Full quadriplegic, the only thing to move was her head. She was fine in her brain, everything worked. But her body would just didn't work. She had multiple different weird diseases, and a few you might know, MS and a thing called hydrocephalitis and a thing called syringomyelia and breast cancer. And so she really copped it bad when she was very young. And he, I still say, I think their love story is one of the greatest I've ever heard, because in 1989, my mother decided she wanted to go back to Newcastle because we'd been in Melbourne for 28 years. So she wanted to, for 18 years, because she was brought to Melbourne in hope that the doctor might be able to do something, and it didn't work.
Mm.
So Dad and Mum and me were left here in Melbourne. They couldn't transport her way back then in 1971. So he had to start a new life here with just him, Mum and me. And she couldn't move. Like nothing moved, and she was stuck there for all that time. He used to visit her, as I said, every day after it. In 1989, she thought, you know what, I haven't heard from my family in 18 years. I'm going to try to contact them because I want to go back to Newcastle. I want to speak to my family again and die. So we found an auntie and spoke to them. And anyway, her mum and dad and a brother and a sister came to Melbourne, visited. After 18 years, she hadn't seen me. And then she said to them, I'd love to come back to Newcastle. And they said, well, we'll have to try to find a hospital or a nursing home that'll take you. And I didn't think anyone would because she was full care.
Yeah.
And long story short, they found one. So Mum said, well, I'm going back. And I said, well, I'm coming with you. I'm the only child. So we just had our first child. And I said to my wife, I'm sorry, but we're moving. She's like, I agree. Let's go. We're back. Flipping stubborn old cow lasted 4 years. I thought she was going to die straight away. But anyway, I'm back there. I'm like, come on, Mum. But what she done before she left, she said, your father has been by my side day in, day out. And when Mum did become a quadriplegic, she said to Dad, take the boy and go. And Dad said, no, I'll stay by your side. And he did. She said to me, he needs to understand what living is because he hasn't done it for 18 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something which you're not going to like and he's not going to like. But it's the only way to cut him free. I'm going to tell him I want to divorce him. And I'm, what? She goes, it's the only way for him to live his life. So I had to get Dad and I drove him in. And Mum said, Ernie, I'm sorry, but I don't love you anymore. I want a divorce. He was distraught. We moved back to Newcastle and Dad started living life. When Mum was getting pretty crook and it was looking like it was getting close, Dad moved to Newcastle to be with us. And she had all the tubes in her and everything because she was almost just about to go because she was drowning because she couldn't cough. And I said, she wants the cords out. And they said, yeah, okay, but it won't take long. Okay. She then said, go and get your dad. So I got Dad, drove him in. She looked at him and said, I've always loved you, I always will. I just needed you to understand how to live life, and I wanted to thank you for 18 years of every day by my side. So she said, come in, give me a kiss. And she did. And she said, now go. Oh, wow. That's an example of how to love someone. And, you know, she died a few days later. But everything she wanted, she saw her family again. She gave Dad, you know, Dad had to learn how to do things because he didn't know. It was just him living on his own and me for 5 years before I got married. You know, you ever had a quadriplegic trying to tell you how to iron? We're saying to Mum, how do you iron? She goes, move it that way. It's that way. She's going, get the iron, move it that way. We're going, what's tipping that way, left or right? She goes, from that end to that end. It was some of the funniest. And about cooking, right, you put the stuff in the pan. We go, well, whereabouts in the pan? Over there or over there? And she's like, don't you mock me. And I'm like, over there, or in there, or does it go round? And it was just some of the funniest things. And we used to laugh because if we didn't laugh, we'd cry. And she brought us to our knees plenty of times. And I thought that was a great love story. And I saw firsthand how much he worked. And I thought, I need to provide for my family the way he provided for his, me and Mum, which is very different. But my family were fine. So I thought, the only thing I can do is work and work and work so they can have what they want. To be honest, I wish I didn't because I missed a bit of my kids growing up because on weekends I was working. But they never wanted for anything. That was the thing. My wife said, hey, but they always had what they needed. They had a roof over their head. They had good clothes. They went out. They did everything they wanted to. So, you know, you know, and now it's sort of gone full circle. For the last 12 years, my wife's looked after me. I haven't worked obviously for 12 years, and she has and still does. And so she does all those things that I used to see my dad doing for my mum. except I can move. Well, not a lot at the moment, to be honest. So she does help me with the menial tasks sometimes, to get dressed and showering, and I hate that. I'm 60 at the end of this year, and I didn't envisage I'd be that sort of person. I thought this thing would get me several years ago, and I wasn't prepared for the tough part of living, dying with cancer, to be honest. I thought it'd finish me off, and I don't understand why it's picking me apart. I've got liver disease now, non-alcoholic liver disease. I've got a problem with an esophagus that's just spasming for no reason, and we're trying to find that reason because that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was like, it's a mongrel of an illness, because some people get told they got it and they're dead in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Some people can last 10, 15 years, and like, man, I've had enough now. I'm content. I've got grandkids, which they know me, they love me.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'd be quite happy to put the head down. I don't know why it keeps picking me up and kicking me again, but I don't know. Maybe some people still need to hear the story, and some people still need to understand what a mongrel of an illness it is, and we need to find ways to beat this thing. I don't know if we ever will, but we've got to try.
Are you one of the kind of folks that thinks everything happens for a reason? Are you in that camp?
Well,
Me neither.
Why? No, I can't, because I think, one of my best mates, he lost his first child at 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
What was that reason? Died of cot death. My mum, full quadriplegic, and I suppose some of my friends are sick of me hearing me saying, I never felt my mum hug me. Like, of course she hugged you. I go, yes, but I was 3 years old when I can't remember it. That's why hugging to me is really important. So I go, of course she did it, but I can't remember it. And I sat there watching people. She was so delighted when we had our first and our second her grandchildren. But do you know how much it cut her up seeing other people pick those kids up and hug them, and she couldn't. She couldn't do that. And I thought, what reason is there behind that? There's no reason behind that. I'm with you, man. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know some people, definitely. I've noticed some folks want there to be a reason, need there to be a reason, so that it feels like there's order to the chaos. I don't know that that's everybody, but I've seen a lot of people, like, they want to feel like they don't want to feel completely out of control. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a reason this is happening, then that's some sort of a system, that's something's in control of it, It's because, to me, like, one of my greatest discomforts, aka or fear, or whatever you want to call it, is being out of control of things. Right? I'm not a control freak, but I also don't want to feel like I have absolutely no control, over things around me. And so I'm always curious to see which camp people are in, and I believe it says a lot about them, as a person. I think if you think there's no order to the chaos, the entropy, the madness, then I think you've got less to fear, right? It seems like the more fearful you are, the more you need there to be a system.
Okay, that makes sense, because I'm not scared to die at all. Many a night I put me in the pillow going, please don't let me wake up tomorrow morning. And I wake up and go, it's not again, come on. And I know you can't will yourself to die. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I've tried and it doesn't work. Someone else who told me that years ago, she lost her battle to cancer. She said, don't waste your time and your energy on trying, because I've tried and it doesn't work. She lasted 10 years. And she was told she had 6 months. Like I was told I had 18 months and I've lasted 11 years. Like, there's no rhyme, no reason to it.
Yeah, I think some people are just so stubborn and annoying that they stick around, Craig.
That's what people say to me, that I'm annoying to other people. And that's why I'm doing this, to annoy other people, because of some of the madness associated with a certain day of the week called Tuesday that annoys some people with my antics of a Tuesday. So I'm like, well, okay then.
Yeah. And speaking of, you've kicked up, what do you call it? Naked Tuesday?
Yep. Yeah.
You've kicked it back up, right? Haven't you started just recently?
Yep, 2 weeks ago, because I honestly thought people have heard the message, they understand it. They don't need me to remind them or to tell them. But I had someone tell me that, she said, I used to look forward to Tuesdays so much and to see what madness you're going to come up with. And it made me consider all the stuff that's going on in my life to be nowhere near as trivial compared. And I said, don't start doing compare things, because what anyone is dealing with is hell for them is hell for them.
Yeah.
And I get it. Don't say it's worse than me no. I feel for you. And she said, we still need to hear the message. I said, you still need to see my bum, eh? Okay. just come out. You can just come out and say that. She goes, well, I do. And I go, well, as a good mate of mine, Jason, says, they say you've got a magnificent buttocks for a 72-year-old woman. Well, thanks, mate. No, don't laugh at that. And she goes, oh, no. It is funny. I'll give him that.
That's amazing. But yeah, like I like it, right? So you started doing the Naked Tuesday basically just to give the middle finger to cancer, right? And to me, it's like a sign of solidarity, right? It's like we're all in this together. I love it.
That's great. So send a photo with me. Because that can happen. Like, obviously, we never tag anyone, no names or anything like that, because there are some people who have jobs that can't, like, look, I want to do this, but I can't have it published because of my job. And went, fine, you can send it to me and I won't publish it. And I get that, because I don't want anyone to get in trouble. And there are some people like, man, I couldn't care less who sees this. I'm doing it. And it's weirdly enough, a lot of people go, your rating wasn't so much fun just to try to come up with an idea of using a prop to sort of hide the bits you can't have seen. And then when it was published, I sort of felt proud. I said, you felt proud? Yeah, because I'm part of the community now, and I'm part of the group fighting together. And I thought, wow, okay. And I thought, maybe I do need to bring it back. So 2 weeks ago, and I did, and tomorrow being Tuesday in Australia, I've got a nice new one done. So I've changed it up a bit. I'm going to do a new one every 2 weeks, and just publish an old one every other week. I was still find it a bit difficult. And, I don't know if you've had a look at it, there's a few that I've done on a zebra crossing, and it was brought to my attention that public nudity is illegal. So like, oh, yeah, better not do that. So, you can still do things in your backyard or inside your house with vacuum cleaning and cooking utensils and all that sort of stuff. So, and I am saying to people, if you want to send one in, at the end of every month, we'll do a collage of everybody that sent photos in and pop that up. So for people who want to get involved. So that's all Facebook stuff anyway. So
yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that says a lot about your madness there.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't planned. That just all happened by accident. It was never a plan. It was an accident, purely an accident that happened. And then Adam Hill's on his TV show, and he said, I think you're going to need a page for this thing because I reckon it'll go off. And I said, no, people won't like this. He was right. Each photo gets, around 40 or 50,000 little views, and that we know of. But once it gets shared out, I think one photo, once we had a top 10 in the country on Facebook viewed photos. So we're like, wow. And not too many haters, which is good. The odd one every now and again, but you're going to get that. But most of the time, it's 99.9% support and love, and all age groups. We've had an 80-year-old couple send a photo in.
That's fantastic.
The only issue with that is they said, we didn't know how to do editing, so here's the photo. He could have held a book in front or something. That's editing.
Oh my goodness, it's got a little more than you bargained for. That's life is full of happy surprises, right? Like the Bob Ross thing, no mistakes, just happy accidents. There you are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, kicked off again. So this Tuesdays, I'm quite happy with. A bit creative. I've got a bit arty in some of them. This week's is. So go and have a look this Tuesday, mate. Don't forget. Well, that'll be your tomorrow for you. This time tomorrow night. Yep.
Yeah. Because today is it's Sunday night for me right now.
Yeah, nearly Monday lunchtime. So you put it in your head. This time tomorrow, click on the Make It Tuesday page.
I've already followed the page. So I don't know what you're talking about. Click on the page. Yeah.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Well, I'll be waiting with bated breath whether you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Oh, it's gonna be thumbs up all the way, bud. Come on.
Well, yeah, that's what the doctor said, and it was.
That's so interesting. So it sounds like, I mean, were you? I'm assuming before all this stuff happened, like you met, like you were talking about, you basically met your rugby hero. Was that what it was?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then you met Adam Hills. Adam Hills, he seems like an amazing human. Talking to Catherine, she said that he basically wanted, every time he does like a stand-up, like, like in front of an audience, he wants that audience to feel uplifted and happy. And apparently he's just that guy, like in front of people and off camera and all that stuff. But what does it say about you that all these people, as soon as they meet you, they become friends with you, Craig?
Look, that's so nice of you. But he is. And people always go, give me some dirt on Hills. Like, there's none. He's none. He is generally the nicest person in the world. He said, whatever I can do to help you, I will. And he has, and he still does. It was like 11 years ago and 2 weeks ago when he was here, he said, mate, have you got any time we can catch up? And I'm like, geez, I'll do anything to catch up with you, mate. And we did. Went out of coffee for a couple of hours, talked rugby league. He was drawing up plays and just amazing because we love our sport and we do all that. But I don't know. I think maybe because they think, good on you for having a go, for not. I got a mate who said, if it was me and I was diagnosed like him, he said, I got in my car, drove to the middle of Australia, hibernated and just let him get me and just get away from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I said, no, you wouldn't do that. You'd find a reason to stay, and unless you didn't like your family, then you'd go. But if you did, you'd find a reason. And when this first happened, I always thought, well, I'm not going to see my kids get married or have kids. Well, then that becomes like, okay, that's going to be my reason. And I made that known to people. And I think by setting goals and putting it out there and then getting there, I think people are like, good on you. And look, there's only a few that know how crook I really am at the moment and how things are. And it's probably the most difficult phase that I've ever faced at the moment, more so in my head. It's really getting to me. And being around Mum all her life and understanding imminent death and then my own, I honestly thought I'd cope better than I am. But then I sit back and think, I reckon I've coped all right and done all right, even though there's some howlers. Like last Thursday was one of the worst I've had in a long time. And I was in an enormous amount of pain physically and mentally. And there was a black hole, and I thought, every day I wonder whether today's the day when I'm going to go into that downward spiral that'll be the end, which I know it's going to happen. I know when it happens, I'll get 4 or 5 days left in me and then I'm gone. So every day I do wonder if today's that day. Live. I get on with what I do. And I don't do much anymore. I sit in front of the TV, I'll chat to some friends and, watch a bit of comedy and a bit of music. And I do try to make plans to go places. But then when I don't make it, it really frustrates me. I get angry to think this flipping thing is, taking that grip. I can't go out at night anymore. On my own, I can't drive. So I need people to take me. And even yesterday, one of the comedians that I'm friends with said, I miss you, mate. And he said, look, how about I get a few of the boys together and we come and see you? And I'm thinking, that's pretty good. And that's already happened to me about a year and so ago. 4 or 5 comedians came to my house and put on a little show just for right. It's a really tight-knit community and it's a great community, but they're very helpful. And I have had somebody say the reason why I like you is because I think you're having a decent crack. And I went, because you've seen my crash. And they went, yeah, well, it's something. And I remember Hilsey, the first time he come across it, when my mate Peter B alerted him to this, he said he thinks dealing with cancer in a childish way, like I am, is a great way. He said, then going half naked and sticking your butt at cancer and wagging your thing on cancer's face and saying, up you. And I think that's resonated with some people because it's not the normal way, and I get that. I have to tell you, and look, a first cousin of mine, basically, we haven't spoke for many years because he said, it's a shame what you're doing. This is not how you deal with cancer. It's terrible. You shouldn't be doing these photos. It's not the right thing. It's just rude. It's wrong. It's not how you deal with cancer. And I remember I said, well, when you get it, you give me a call and tell me how you deal with it. And I said, if you're going to be like this, I don't want to talk to you. And I haven't spoke to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get it that some people, I've got one other mate who says, I don't like seeing the photos. I like him because he said, I think there's one great side that I really like. Fully clothed. I'm standing at the airport and there's a sign that says terminals, and I'm standing in front of it pointing to me. And I think that's rather funny. But my mate hates that photo, and he said to me, I hate that photo. I said, why? He goes, because it reminds me of what's happening to you. I said, it reminds you of what's happening to me. I said, try and live in the flipping thing every day. So let's have a bit of fun, a bit of brevity with this, and we can cope. But I said, if you don't want to see the photos, I'll block you. And he doesn't see the photos. Yeah, so that's his wish. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, I get it. But it's my cup of tea again, or coffee. And seems to be...
Hey, I've noticed that too. That's like...
We've had messages from people,
Yeah, there's a lot of people that react to things differently. And something I've learned is, for example, if I read a book and then a friend or my wife or one of my kids, somebody else reads that same book at the same time, at the end of it, we'll talk about, we'll discuss. And there'll be something that stuck out to me that was really meaningful and strong. And for them, it'll be something entirely different. You know what I mean? So to me, I've learned that people will take something in, and if it resonates with them, they'll grab it, right? And your village, your people will find you, but you have to wave your flag. You know what I mean? You have to let them know you're out there, and you're out there ass first, finding your village and your people. And I love that because they will. They flock to you, and the people that need you, not the other way around, not the people you need necessarily, but when you do shit like this, the people that need you will find you. And you're not just, over here whispering, hey, this is who I am. You've got a bullhorn and you're out there screaming to a crowd of people. And I freaking love it. I love it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the nicest things. So, thank you.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I respond to things. And I would say extremely inappropriately. So whenever I'm at a funeral, I can't stop making jokes, and I try to be quiet, and I know it's not appropriate to laugh in the middle of a service, but I don't know why, but that is how my brain and my body reacts to these things. Like you said, I can either laugh or I can cry. And I've cried a lot in my life, and I don't want to cry anymore. I want to...
Yeah, it gets draining, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I want to make everybody else laugh, and I want to make you laugh inappropriately at the same event, and then look at you like you did something wrong. And it's like, I'm sorry about this guy over here. I apologize.
I have told people that doesn't matter when I die, my funeral will be on a Tuesday. And we're not all coming naked. And I went, well, I'm not going to know. And it's going to be an open casket, and I will be naked. And I really don't care. I don't really care what you say then. I mean, it's not like I'm going to hear and come and go, show me yours. Like, I'm going to be there. And as you can imagine, my montage of photos is going to be very interesting. it'll be a mix of people laughing and crying while those photos. And obviously, my wife will be a bit upset, and my kids, but there'll be other people laughing at the photos. And I've told people my funeral if I was me, because I've got some guests that I've already invited to sing and do all that because of the connections with theatre. You know, it's a bit hard when you start the conversation. Look, got a favour to ask you.
Oh,
Is there any chance you could sing this song at my funeral? And they're like, geez, I don't want to think about it. Yeah, I know, but we have to. And they're like, I'd be on it, yes. And I'm like, oh, you beauty. I'm like, wish I was going to be there because, well, I'm going to be there, but you know what I mean? Because there's going to be some great Australian artists singing live again. At my, I actually call it, I call it my closing ceremony. This is more like it's going to be my closing ceremony. It's going to be, and there's a musical at the moment called And Juliet, which is absolutely magnificent. And there's a bit where Romeo is supposed to have died, and he steps up onto his coffin and says, "It's my life, now or never," and he sings that. It's my life. And I contacted the bloke who plays that part, and I'm friends with him. I go, man, I would so love for you at my funeral just to get up there and stomp and start singing, "It's my life." And he went, oh, wow. I said, well, yeah, my wife, and no, probably not. But what an impact that'd make. Like, how good would that be? And like, I'd love it. It's now or never. I'm going to live forever. It's true. This guy's standing on my coffin singing it. Magnificent. But, probably won't happen. And I've got a couple of surprises planned, which, again,
oh my gosh.
I wish I could see these because they're going to be so good. Like, people are going to go, wow, that was funny or clever. I can't tell anyone because I don't want to spoil it for those who maybe might turn up. And someone said, "Oh, you're going to live stream it?" I went, "Well, I won't be." But they said to me, "Are you going to live stream your funeral?" I went, "Well, you might have to talk to someone else to do that." I said, "How funny though is for the live streaming of this funeral, it's like, well, it's an oxymoron, isn't it?" But so am I suppose. So.
Oh my god. Yeah, maybe I'll wait for the straight to DVD release of it. It's not going to go theaters. I feel like it's going to go DVD. Yeah,
straight to DVD. Yeah, I've already got one out there. It'd be nice to have two. Yeah. You should see Clown. You should see Clownheart, by the way. You'd love it. That's the show I'm in with Hilsey and with Catherine. So now you've met two of us.
Yeah.
The big boss on here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, Adam Hills, my first introduction to him was The Last Leg, kind of the news show. And what's funny is he kind of, like, I found that show at just the right time. It was during the pandemic. And I mean, that must have been really interesting over there, because I know you guys, you didn't really have a lockdown. You had kind of like an entire change of life over there. Like, you guys locked down for so long, but it was crazy. And most of the news, I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, it was killing me. But The Last Leg, once a week, I could hear a little bit of hard news with some laughs, and then hard news and then some laughs. So it made the medicine go down, I guess.
Clever. Yeah, it was pretty tough lockdown here. I said to people, welcome to my world without the pain and the sickness, but the locking in the doors. I did have someone go, "Oh, now I understand what it's like to live like you." I mean, really?
Oh, bro.
You're scratching the surface, champ. You know, I mean, like, wanting to go out, but I can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, next subject, mate. Oh,
oh my
but
goodness.
Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So you said at the top of our conversation that you're a budding magician. Tell me a little about that, because I actually do a little bit of sleight of hand myself. I mean, but the real question is,
and again, wow.
I was gonna say, the real question is, did the sleight of hand come first or this mustache? Right? You never know.
I love that. I love that, by the way,
to the other.
when I watched Catherine's, my first thing was, oh, the facial there. Well, oh, Catherine's there too. But that, I love all that stuff. I love it. I love it. Yes, I should grow mine. I tried to grow mine out to be bigger when I started doing the magic. And I got a bit, my wife going, trim that back. I went, no, don't you do that. I said, she doesn't like this. So I love it because it was only another way of, I've got to try to fill my day by doing different things. And there's only so much TV you can watch. And I thought, oh, magic's pretty cool. And I started watching a few things. I tried to do a few. And I started doing simple card tricks because my hands are a bit wobbly. I can't do any sleight of hand stuff. But I've been doing a few others. And it's so good when I get the smart people who go, hey, I don't know how you did that. How did you do that? I go, not telling you. And there's a great site I bought a few things from in America called Penguin Magic.
Mm-hmm.
They are magnificent. And I buy some gimmick stuff sent over and I do that. And people are like, what? Like, I can't believe you're doing this. I went, how good is it? I'm schooling you all. And I taught my granddaughter a bit, which I've done with a 3-year-old. And they're like, yeah, because you can't set a 3-year-old up. It's just got to happen because there's no way you can say to a 3-year-old, hey, you've got to do this and say this at this point and that. She, when I started, she go, I just burped. I go, see, you can't, the 3-year-old to do anything. So they go, so how did you do the trick then? Because it was flipping magic. I love it. I've got a couple of big books now and fantastic. Sleight of hand I appreciate because I think that's too hard for me.
Well, what's your pattern like? Like, do you work on that? That's always been kind of a different sort of animal for me. One is like my brain can repeatedly do a trick over and over and over until I get it down, right? But then another thing is like to come up with some kind of compelling pattern to go with it. Like, are you an enemy with pattern or do you make friends with it?
No, it's okay. I've done a roll with it. I'll play around with it, especially with the 3-year-old. It's really cool. And doing tricks with her and learning what to say. And we've done the vanishing, behind the blanket vanishing trick, and she just loves it as well when we do that sort of stuff. So, but I've got a couple of books that I've read, and that Penguin Magic side is great. And I follow a few different magicians and get a few of their stuff, and there's some great stuff you can do with levitation stuff, and as you know, which is wonderful, and people have no clue. So yeah, no, I enjoy it big time.
I love it, man.
Like brewing.
So I was a traveling salesman for a long time. Just recently, I switched to a non-traveling salesman, so I'm still but I just don't travel. And whenever I was traveling, I always had a deck of cards in my hand, right? Because I'm sitting in an airplane. I mean, what else am I going to do? So I would do that. If I'm at a customer site and, I would like lead these things in between, I would just be sitting there just moving the cards. And so occasionally somebody would ask, hey, it's like, do you know some magic stuff? I was like, yeah, I know a little bit. And it's always fun to just see that moment because there's that one clear moment where it happens and you could see it on their face. Like, and especially when you get to the point where you don't have to watch the trick, you can watch the person. I don't know. I never get tired of that moment where they...
The reaction's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Where you
makes
see
it feel so good.
Yeah.
Like,
and I can still remember...
I tricked my wife and that's great.
Yeah. I can still remember, like, sometimes, and there's still some magicians that can do it where I see them do something and there's just like something genuinely weird happens in my brain. Like I can't, it's like my brain can't comprehend what just happened in it.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing
principles.
Feeling.
Yeah. I'm with you because the principles think, okay, it's got to be doing this or that or that, but they couldn't have used that because that, what? And like, oh man, looking up things, how did you do that trick? And good thing is that a lot of them aren't revealed. I watched Penn and Teller. They did a masterclass one, and they were great. We just some simple card tricks like the Whispering Queen and things like that. Absolutely, you could teach anyone that in 30 seconds, and it's a great one. And that was the first one I tried because I thought, well, that's simple. Surely I can do that. And I did it, and they were like, what? And my son-in-law, Joe, he's really clever with all his things. He's an engineer, and I'll send him links to it. Okay, work this one out with you. And he goes, oh, if you look at this, you can see this. And I'm going, okay, yep. But there's one, even he just went, and he did what? I thought I got you. Yes, I got him. I'm like, he went, because he knows the principles and he's an engineer and he's clever. And he goes, hang on, he'll come back and he'll go, no, thank you very much. Thank you. It is a different sort of feeling, isn't it? I mean, I said to people, it's pretty cool when you tell a joke, and at Apollo, 4,000 people laugh and you think that's great. But then also just tricking one person with a card trick, I think it's still the rush and the buzz, because you don't know how it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
I love it.
One particular one I do where I riffle through and I get somebody to say stop, and then I'll stop on a card, and I'll flip that card over and they'll sign. I'll say sign the name of the person who's the most important to you in the whole world on the back, and they'll put somebody's name on there, and I'll look at it and I'll say, actually, you messed up. You put the wrong name on there, and so I'll flip it back and I'll put it down on the table. I say the most important person should be you, right? Because if you don't take care of you, you don't get to take care of anybody else, right? I was like, so let's do it again. And I'll riffle through and I get him to say stop, and then I'll get him to sign the front of the card. I say, put your name on here. And then I'll put it down, and then I get to do the reveal where the card that they had signed the back of, I wipe their name off, and then I pick up the other one, and it's on both sides, like the signature's on both sides. And I love the reveal of that. I love the story about how if you take care of yourself, you get to take care of this person that's the most important to you, and you're bound together forever. And like, I don't know, it's like the combination of the surprise in your brain, like how did you do that, coupled with the story. Like I've seen some actual like amazing reactions from people with stuff like that, and it's funny because it's a tiny little story, and if I just told somebody, hey, you got to take care of yourself first, that would mean nothing and it would blow by them. But then I give them this card, and it's an experience, it's a moment, and I've walked by people and I've seen it like in their cubicle, it's this little reminder that you can give them. You can give them this little moment, which I think is so special about magic.
Never seen that trick.
Well, after this, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you in a minute, right after this. But yeah, people are listening. They don't want to hear me riffling through cards.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes for doesn't make for good radio, right, Craig? But yeah, like magic became just this little challenge for me to see if I could do it. And it's kind of turned into this little special thing for me.
Same. Yep, exactly the same.
It's funny.
Because I do, and I've said it before, and I've been told off because I say, I often think I'm useless and worthless because I don't work, I don't contribute financially, I can't clean or help, cook, I don't do anything but sit in my chair with my chihuahua on my lap watching TV. I'm useless. I feel such a burden on everyone because if I need to go out, I need people to take me. And people would say, don't say that. And I think maybe part of doing the magic was to think, well, maybe I can do something. Maybe I needed, maybe that was, I've not thought of this before, but maybe that was part of the reason why I decided to try to do that, to even think, well, I can't do magic. I couldn't do that. I'm hopeless. These hands have never done a hard day's work in their life. They've always been office. I was a nurse and a paramedic. That was my training before I teach. So, I'm not really dexterous with my hands. So I thought I couldn't do that. And the first time I got a card trick right, the Whispering Queen, I was like jumping up and down in my bedroom by myself. No one was around, thinking, I actually done that. I really did it. And I thought if I could just show someone else, and I did, and they were like, those words, how did you do that? I have arrived. Thank you very much. I have some self-worth back.
I think most of the people around me, all I really need for them is to be them and love me and support me, cheer for me. And what I found is that people that do that for you are exceptionally rare. And if you've got a good mate, you got a good family member. For me, most of my family is chosen family, people that have chosen to be supportive, to lift me up, and
Yep.
I genuinely feel closer to most of those people than the folks I share blood with, for
Yep.
one
I
reason
don't have
or
any of
another.
them. No siblings. All grandparents are passed. Parents. My mum and dad died. Dad had a 16-year battle with lung cancer and stomach cancer. He died in 2016. So there's no. I've got literally one close relative in Newcastle, Tracy, and apart from that, there's no other family at all. It's my own that I've made.
Jesus, Craig, you are a family of fighters.
Dad was 16 years with his, and that's what some people say. Your mum had 23 years, your dad had 16, you've had 11. I'll go, well, if you average that out, that means I'm just about cooked. So they go, no, add them up and you're in the middle of your mum and dad, so you're going to go 19 years. I went, oh, no, I can't do this for another 8 years. But I am fortunate because I live with my daughter. She asked us to move in just over a year or so ago after the pandemic because she realised how much that took away from me because it's one thing I didn't have on my side was time, and that took away time with people. And she then said, well, how about you moving with us so you can, our granddaughter was only a year and 18 months old then. So they said, so she can be with you every day and you can see her grow and she can know who you are. She'll know who Papa is. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad. So yeah, I'm thankful for my daughter for doing that. Created a living space for me in part of the house and her and her husband and my little lollipop Lola. I'm started calling her I have an oncologist, a gastroenterologist, an endocrinologist. I'm starting to call her my happyologist. She's my happiness specialist. When I need it, I go to her.
That's terrific, man.
It's not.
Well, Craig, we've talked about some heavy stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
But most of this, you've had me laughing, you've had me smiling. You have a gift, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you to Catherine for recommending. This has been great.
Yeah. Well, right here at the end of the podcast, I usually like to say, Craig, if there is any way you want people to, and I have a feeling it's going to be a very fun way you would like folks to interact with you out on the internet, not for the faint of heart, perhaps. How would you have them find you and interact with you, bud?
Well, you can jump on Instagram. That's tame, and I'm at I think I just look for Craig Papa Coombes. You should be able to find me. And on Facebook, we do have a page called Naked Tuesday, all one word. If you type it in different, you might get a different page. It's not mine. So you should see my ugly mug on it. Make sure you get the right one. There are a few different variations that are not my page. So, so if you want to jump on there and I reply to messages, I do reply. It's not, my mate Peter B also helps with the page, but I generally the one who do write to people. We had some amazing stories that I get from people who are going through cancer, who have lost people to cancer, who just wanted to say g'day, and I reply to everybody. It might take a few days at the moment, but I do get back to everybody who sent the message on that page or the Instagram. I promise that the Instagram is just my personal account. There's no Naked Tuesday stuff on there, but I'm certainly happy to talk to people, point them in the direction if that's their cup of tea.
All right. Well, I will definitely put links to both of those things. And, you're very self-deprecating about the Naked Tuesday pictures, but I want to remind you, Craig, that you're somebody's kink out there. So
I know. I unfortunately found that out recently. Much to my surprise. I didn't think this was...
I like how you said much to my surprise, not to my chagrin, but my surprise. It didn't sound like you were upset.
Oh, jeez.
Let me hit stop on all these recordings real quick.